guys. Welcome. Sorry, we're a little bit late here. Had some internet connectivity issues, but we're back and we're super excited because, well, obviously we have the Dr. Scott Saunders and he, man, we just love having him here every week. But of course, we're going to talk about type 2. But the other thing we're going to talk about today is, should we stop eating? And by that, I mean fasting. So we're going to chat about this. As many of you know, some of you are still hopping on here, but many of you know that Dr. Saunders, he talks a lot about fasting, and we get a lot of questions about it. People comment on our YouTube channels and stuff, wanting to know a little bit more about fasting. Is it safe? What should I be doing? Is it okay for me to feel this way if I'm fasting? If I stop eating, that can't really be good for me, right? So we get all these kinds of questions. And so today we're going to dedicate our webinar to talking about that, what that might look like for you, and people with type 2. So before we get started though, Dr. Saunders, would you mind giving us a disclaimer?
Okay. All of the information that you get here is for general purposes and may apply to a lot of people in the group, but not everyone. So when you hear something, make sure you find out if that applies to you or not. So some people have type 1, some people have type 2. And so if we're talking about someone asking about getting off insulin, and I say, yeah, that's a good idea. If you have type 1, that's not a good idea. So make sure that every bit of information that you get here applies to you specifically.
All right, this is so good. Those of you who haven't gone to bartonwebinar.com, you can find more information there. But in the meantime, we are going to get started. Feel free to leave your questions. Q&A is the easiest place for us to find those questions. And don't be mad at Dr. Saunders for telling you about fasting, because I have gone through this myself, and I wasn't sure if I wanted him to be my doctor anymore by day 3, but it gets better. So anyway, here we go. Dr. Saunders, take it away. Let's talk about fasting.
Okay, should I eat or not? Well, of course you should eat, but there is one thing that is very important, and that is the anabolic metabolism. So if you do a lot of research into muscle building and all those weightlifters and the people that want big, huge muscles, they're always talking about being anabolic. They want anabolic steroids, anabolic steroids like testosterone and DHEA and those kinds of things. Why? What is all this about anabolic? What does it mean? Well, what it means is building up, repairing, detox, cleanse. Aren't those awesome things? Does everybody want to be anabolic? Well, heck yeah, you want to be anabolic. So what does it take to be anabolic? And so if you start off with, okay, I want to repair everything. Do you know why people get worn out knees, worn out hips, worn out joints, arthritis? We call it degenerative diseases or diseases of aging. Why does that happen? It's because you're not repairing. You're not anabolic. You're catabolic. You know what catabolic is? Catabolic is when you're awake and you're alert and you're eating and it's light outside. You have light coming into your eyeballs. And what catabolic literally means is breaking down. You're breaking down your food when you eat it. You're breaking down your body when you're walking and running and thinking and doing whatever you do. It's like driving a car. Here you are driving a car, and you're saying, well, I want my car to last forever, so I'm going to drive it really carefully. Is that going to work? No, it's still breaking down your car. If you're driving it, your tires are getting worn out. The seats you're sitting in are getting worn out. Your oil is building up toxins. Your engine's getting hot with inflammation. And all of that is going on because you're driving your car. If you want to keep your car forever, easy. All you do is put it in a barn and cover it over in a garage and just let it sit there, right? Well, obviously, that's not of any use. So what we have as we're catabolic all the time when we're doing stuff, but every night we can do something a car can't. We get to repair it all. So all the wearing away of your joints that you did all day, you get to fix it. All the extra thinking that you were doing, that you're getting all those tau proteins built up in your inflammatory stuff built up in your brain, you get to clean all that out. All of the damage when you lifting weights and you tear muscle fibers, you get to rebuild it stronger than it was. And we often don't think about it, but just walking down the street, you are making fractures, little tiny fractures in your bones. And those little tiny fractures in your bones, if you don't repair them, they become bigger fractures and bigger fractures and bigger fractures. And then they become a weak part of the bone. And then you step off a curb and crack, your bone breaks. And you go to the doctor and go, what the heck? And he's, oh, it's a stress fracture. It happens all the time. Stress fracture. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means you've stressed it for too long and it never repaired. Well, why didn't it repair? Because you're not anabolic. You're catabolic all the time. You're breaking down, breaking down, breaking down, breaking down. So here's what's really important. I'm going to teach you guys how to become anabolic. And it's really, really simple. You need a hormone called HGH, human growth hormone. This is so important. This is what makes little kids grow up into adults. But what does it do for adults? It makes adults repair. And you only get just one chance at night, one chance to make that human growth hormone a really high amount. And then what that does is initiates all the repair mechanisms in your body so that you can fix those joints, repair them better than they were. You fix those muscles, you fix those bones, you fix your brain. Everything gets fixed, but you have to do it in the right way. So when this anabolic research is done and they look at, well, how do people become anabolic without injecting human growth hormone? Well, what has to happen is you have to be asleep at 10 o'clock at night. And is that variable? Well, it's a little variable, but not a big variable. If you wait till after 11, you're probably not going to get anabolic. If you go to sleep earlier at 9, you're probably okay. Because somewhere around 10 o'clock at night is when the cortisol, the catabolic hormone, that's the stress hormone that you make all day long that keeps you going, goes down to its lowest point. And at that point, you release human growth hormone in your brain, your pituitary gland, and that human growth hormone initiates all the repair and everything. But you only get 10 minutes, just a little bit. So it's not like you can wait till midnight. Oh, I'll just go to sleep at midnight and I'll sleep longer in the morning. No, no, no. That's not the way it works. It works on the circadian rhythm. And so it's when that stress hormone, cortisol, reaches its lowest point. That's when you get it. And when does yours reach the lowest point? Well, I don't know that. But research has shown that people who work nights don't get anabolic. They're always catabolic. People who work like shift work, when they're on the swing shift and they don't get home till midnight, they don't get anabolic. They're always catabolic. They did police officers, nurses, and they looked at them, you know, the nurse that says, oh, I love the night shift. It's quieter and it's great to work the night shift and I sleep better during the day. Guess what? They never get anabolic. They're always catabolic. In fact, I had a nurse, she's not a nurse, she's a nurse assistant in my office last week, well, 2 weeks ago, but last week we got the test results back. And she was otherwise pretty healthy. She says, I feel like I'm aging. I'm only 25 years old and I feel like I'm old. And she works nights, 4 nights a week. So the other 3 nights a week, she's not, and so she does not have a sleep schedule because she's got little kids, right? Little kids are going to school. So during the nights that she works, she just doesn't sleep at all during the day because little kids, right? They're not going to let you sleep during the day. Anyway, so yeah, she was definitely aging because she was catabolic the whole time, never got anabolic. So I explained that to her. This is what has to happen. So sleep is one. Number 2, you need a hormone called ghrelin. Ghrelin. It's growth hormone releasing hormone. That's how it got its name. So this growth hormone releasing hormone, ghrelin, only happens when your stomach is empty, like no stretch receptors, like there's nothing in it. And that means water. That's the funny thing about it. It's stretch receptors that this hormone is based on, which means that if you put anything in your stomach, it doesn't mean calories is not the issue here. It's just stretch receptors. So not putting anything in your stomach at night is the key, especially. So a lot of people are talking about intermittent fasting and how awesome it is and how wonderful it is. And you can fast for 18 hours a day, and you get the 6-hour window of this is when I eat. And so a lot of people are doing in that 6-hour window. They'll eat at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I say, I don't eat till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I have my last meal at 9 o'clock at night. Well, actually, that's probably not a very good way to do it, because those stretch receptors are going to prevent you from making ghrelin. So you don't get growth hormone releasing hormone. So you don't release your growth hormone. So you don't get anabolic. All that fasting, it's not totally worthless. It's still good for you for a lot of other reasons, but you miss the greatest benefit, and that is being anabolic. So in order to be anabolic, if you're doing intermittent fasting, you want that to happen in the morning. So if your 6-hour window is, I'm going to eat at 8 o'clock and I'm going to eat at 2 o'clock, and then I'm done for the day. That is a great way to do intermittent fasting. So when you look at the research and they show how intermittent fasting isn't really that good for you. I mean, it's okay, but it's not that good. A lot of that is because people have shifted their window of eating to the evening. Not a good idea. If you shift your window of eating to the morning, then you get much more benefit from it. Now, what if you've been breaking down your body for years and years, and you've been working nights, and you're overweight, and you have diabetes, type 2, right? And you have all these issues of your joints are wearing out, and you're man, just feeling so old. What do you do about that? Well, you can do a fast for a long period of time, and the longer you fast, you get this ghrelin for a long period of time. You get the human growth hormone, you get the repairing, and you actually repair more than just at night. You're repairing most of the time, and it suppresses those adrenal hormones, those stress hormones, so you don't get catabolic as much, and so it shifts your body from a catabolic state to an anabolic state. And so long-term fasting works really well because you're in a long-term anabolic state and rebuilding and rebuilding and rebuilding over a long period of time. So people who have long-term fasts, for example, I have two patients in the nursing home right now that one of them said, I am so sick of this. I'm miserable. These medications aren't working. I want to get off these drugs. I've been on them for 30 years. And it's totally useless. I'm gaining weight. I feel worse. I can hardly get out of bed, blah, blah, blah. She went on and on and on. And I said, okay, you have another option. Your option for getting off the medications is a long-term fast. So she is 10 days into her long-term fast, and she's doing broth right now. She started out with just water. And then now she switched to broth. At first, she got a lot of detox problems because she was on a lot of drugs. So she got, including like opiates and stuff like that. So she got headaches, and she was kind of not feeling like, she goes, this is not good for me. I'm like, it's good for you. Keep going. So she's 10 days into it, and she's just starting to go, you know what? I'm feeling a little better. Not a lot. She's still complaining. She still has a headache, as a matter of fact, but she's off all the opiates. She's off all the drugs. She's off, and is really amazing. I have another guy who had a stroke. He's a young guy, 58 years old, had a stroke and can barely use one side of his body. And he was way overweight. And I'm like, dude, you know what? For rehab and everything, for being anabolic, you're going to need to do a fast. So he's doing just water, nothing else. And he puts a little lemon in his water. He says, I just have to have it for flavor. So he puts a little lemon in his water. And I saw him the other day with physical therapy. He is up on his feet and he's hobbling along a little with the help. The physical therapist is holding on to his belt, right? But he's getting around. He's actually doing something, which he was in bed the whole time before. The long-term fast, I read a book called The Fasting Cure by Sinclair Lewis. It was written in 1910. And it's a very interesting book on fasting. And they don't think anything in those days. They didn't think anything about not eating for 30 days. And they would do 60-day fasts and 90-day fasts and like 3 months with water only. And they're drinking a lot of water, but they don't do bone broth. They don't do anything. It's just water. And he said pretty much everyone on thousands of people that I've looked at between me and the several other doctors, physicians who were using this method, the thousands of people, pretty much anything could be cured. And they included like tuberculosis. And he has like letters from people. He says, I was diagnosed with tuberculosis. I did my fast and my lungs came back to normal. I'm feeling better. And diabetes and rheumatism, all kinds of health problems that were cured by fasting. And pretty much Sinclair Lewis said that you can probably cure just about any chronic malady with fasting. Because why? Well, now you know why. It puts you in anabolic mode. Anabolic is rebuild, repair, cleanse, detox. So all of the detox programs, you go and you spend $10,000 to go to the Optimum Health Institute to detox your body, right? And every detox that works is not eating. That's all. That's all you need. And it detoxes everything. It actually removes toxins from your body. They did a study on people who were exposed to PCBs. And the only effective method for getting rid of PCBs was fasting. And it doesn't just detox like we think of all these industrial toxins like PCBs and BPA and all that stuff and glyphosate, all that. That's what we think of as toxins. And it does. Fasting does get rid of those. But what it does get rid of is all the toxins that you've been building up from what you eat, from all the pesticides and preservatives. And you're eating fruits and vegetables, but how much pesticides do they have on them? You still need to detox from those. Plus the food itself, when you're overloaded with food and you're overweight and you have too much sugar and all of that, what's the best way to detox? Well, just don't eat. And during that time, you become anabolic. Anabolic cleanse and detox is a really important part of the anabolic process. So when you're anabolic, there's another thing that happens, and that it fixes your brain. They just found this out. This is like brand new. They discovered a lymph system in your brain. They always thought that the brain didn't have a lymph system, that it was just the cerebral spinal fluid that was going through there, and that the brain itself just had the blood vessels in it. But they actually found out there's a lymph system, and they can look at the brain during the day as you're using your brain. You're actually swelling. Your brain actually swells up. And now that we have really good MRIs to look at the structure of the brain, that you can see the size changes. So at night, when you're anabolic, it shrinks down. And what's happening is all of that swelling, the extra fluid that contains all the toxins that are building up because you're using your brain so much, which is using 20% of the energy of your body. is clearing out at night, and all of that gets cleared out if you're anabolic. So how do you become anabolic? Number one, don't eat. So the rule that they used was no food after 6. When they were doing like rat studies and people studies, if they didn't eat after 6, they would have an empty stomach when they went to bed, and that was good enough. So that's sort of a minimum fast, would be no food after 6. The Sachin Panda that was doing the research said if you stop at 3 o'clock, it's even better. That's where people lost weight and they actually improved their function. So rather than just detoxing from the day, you could detox from longer if you stop eating at 3. So if you're going to do intermittent fasting, like a 8 a.m., 2 p.m. meal is a really good idea. Okay, any questions? Oh yeah, somebody asked the question. I just saw it pop up. Should people with type 1 diabetes fast? And it is still really, really good for you to fast, but you got to be careful because I have somebody with type 1 diabetes who's fasting, and she knows not to take her insulin. She's not taking her insulin. And her blood sugars have been in the 140s, 150s. And so she monitors her blood sugar even during the fast and not on insulin. So you have to be really careful with type 1 if you're fasting. And work, if you're not comfortable with it, by all means, work with somebody who knows. Work with your doctor, your endocrinologist, and say, I want to do this. How do I do this? And if they say, no, don't do it, find somebody else to help you. It'll be good.
Lots and lots of questions. This is so good. People are very interested in this topic. So this is great. A question from Gloria on Facebook. And this is the question that I hear a lot. What happens if I start to get hypoglycemic? Is it okay to continue to fast?
Dang. Well, if you get hypoglycemic, you're going to get a headache, like my patient in the nursing home. She got a headache. Well, part of that is a detoxing from opiates, but the other part is a lot of people, when they get hypoglycemic, they feel weak and tired, and it's a training process like anything else. So if hypoglycemia is an issue for you, some people just power through it and they go, okay, it's hypoglycemia, I'm good with that. And they did studies on rats, and the rats went into the 40s, and their blood sugar down in the 40s, and they were still okay. After 3 days, they came out of it and they were great, and they actually had better glucose transport proteins. I talked about this before. So it's okay in a sense to be hypoglycemic, but it's kind of miserable. A lot of people don't like to be hypoglycemic. So for that reason, some people want to train their bodies slowly over some period of time. So some people, when they come to my house, and I take them to the beach, and the water's 58 degrees, some people just jump in, they just dive in the water and start swimming. Other people, they dip their toes in, let the wave come up and touch them, and then they go a little bit in, till they're up to their knees, and then they get up to their waist, they're like, whoo, whoo, whoo. But some people will do it slowly. So it's okay if you get hypoglycemic to do it slowly. And the way you do that is you have a 10-hour fast, and then you have a 12-hour fast, and then you have a 14-hour fast. And so each day you're just adding a little bit of time. You get to your 18-hour fast. And then once you get to 18 hours, you should be okay to do a 24-hour fast where you eat once a day. And you can even try that for a few days. You go, wow, I've only had breakfast for 3 days, and I'm doing fine. And then you're set to do a long-term fast. Then you can do a 2-week, 3-week, 4-week, 6-week, whatever fast. And I'll tell you, there was this guy in Scotland in 1967, something like that, 65, who lost almost 300 pounds by water fasting for over a year. Over a year. He drank only water. He lived on his fat for over a year.
Wow.
They gave him a vitamin pill and water, but yeah.
And you've said numerous times
So
you can oh, go ahead.
just saying. No, I'm just saying. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you have mentioned too, often you can fast for as many days as pounds that you need to lose. So something to think about as well.
Well, hello, Joe Barton here, and I wanted to talk to you about today's sponsor, which is our product called Healthy Gut Support. Does that work? There it is, Healthy Gut Support. So this is our prebiotic, probiotic, and digestive enzyme blend that is great for digestion. It helps with gas and bloating, metabolism, immune system support, weight loss, inflammation, detox, and cleansing. It's just really good. I highly recommend it. This is something that I take regularly with a meal. The instructions are, as a dietary supplement, adults take 2 capsules daily, preferably with a meal, or as recommended by a healthcare practitioner. So Dr. Saunders formulated this, and it is really good. So it's got, it's not just a probiotic, it's got the prebiotic, which is the fiber that the probiotics eat and feast on so that they're active. And then the digestive enzymes work so that your body can better digest fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. And so this is highly recommended. If you want to save 25%, use the coupon code webinar25, which I've got listed right on over my shoulder here. Go to bartonnutrition.com, and that's where you can order Healthy Gut Support. Use that coupon code webinar25. That helps us know that, one, that you're watching the webinars, and two, it helps to support the cause that we're doing to deliver hope and healing to people all over the world. And so check this out, Healthy Gut Support. Highly recommend. I love it. All right, take care. God bless. Back to the webinar.
Okay. This is such a good note. Scott said that he recently had a colonoscopy and he was forced to fast for 30 hours with only water and bone broth. My blood sugar level finally went down to 107. This is the only way I've been able to get my blood sugar levels down this low. I've been in stage 1 for a year now, and it's so frustrating. Can you give him any advice? I think he figured it out himself.
Yeah, that's it. You have the answer. It was right in front of you all the time. It was the colonoscopy that saved you. Good work.
Yeah. And so I think that's the thing too. We had another question. When you get to your optimal blood sugar level, do you stop fasting at that point? And then what do you recommend? Is this something you continue to do?
Stopping. Yeah. Okay. So Leslie already mentioned that you lose about 1 pound a day. So I have one woman that did 30 days. She lost 33 pounds. And that was mostly, she wanted to lose weight. She didn't really, but her arthritis went away and stuff. But I had another guy who was diabetic, had sleep apnea, and high blood pressure. And in 30 days, he lost almost 30 pounds, a little less than 30 pounds. And his blood sugar was normal. And his blood pressure went down to normal, and he stopped having sleep apnea. So that only took 30 days. So imagine being well in only a month, that kind of thing. So if you think about it, if you're 30 pounds overweight, you can easily fast for a month, right? So 1 pound a day. If you're 20 pounds overweight, consider about 3 weeks, right? If you're 10 pounds overweight, consider about 2 weeks. That kind of range would be really good. When to stop depends on what your end manner is going to be. So for some people, it's a date. They say 30 days. Other people, you can be like the guy in Scotland that said, I'm not going to eat until I weigh 180 pounds. And he was over 350 pounds. So that was a big long fast to say, I'm not going to eat until I weigh 180 pounds. And he did. And 5 years later, they went and found him in Scotland, and he was still 180 pounds. He kept it off the whole time, which is the benefit of long-term fasting. You tend to reset and keep it off. So the amount of time you fast will depend on what you want to accomplish. So if it's all about weight, consider about a pound a day. If it's about diabetes, then when you get to normal blood sugars for several days, when you're in the 70 to 90 range for several days, then you can consider breaking the fast. But if it goes right back up, you might want to do a longer term fast to get your insulin resistance down, because that's where that ends up. And then there's going to be a question I'm going to answer right now. How do you break the fast? If you've been fasting for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and then now you're going to start eating, what are you going to do? Well, in that book, the fasting cure, he tried everything. He tried the milk. Someone recommended just drinking milk, and he said, it didn't sit well with him. What seems to work the best is fiber. So fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, whole grains, beans, peas, lentils, anything with a lot of fiber in it is a great way to break the fast, especially if it has a lot of water. So if you're eating a lot of fruit, that's a great, I've found that, because I fast a lot, I found that a great way to break the fast. Just eat fruit and raw vegetables.
Well, and watched, thinking of carb intake, coming off of this, if they want to stay under that 20 grams of carbs.
Yeah, that's true. That's
so
true.
Maybe more of the vegetables, probably, not the fruit.
Okay, deal.
Okay. Okay, this is good. John said, what are ceramides and what is their function?
Ceramides. Gosh.
I'm not even sure.
Ceramides are waxy substances that are used for, I don't know, they're chemicals, but gee, I don't know. I don't know enough about ceramides to be able to answer that question.
So maybe some foods. Okay, so what foods are high in ceramides? I'm assuming this is what he's talking about. I'm just Googling. It says soybeans, dairy, eggs, sweet potatoes, wheat germ.
Yeah.
It says refrain from using oral ceramides as they can mess with your lipid profile. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Not totally sure. Let's see here. Mark says, I have both of your programs, diabetes and blood pressure. Is there a correlation between high blood sugars and high blood pressure with low iron? Why do I crave chewing on ice? And what supplements do I need?
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, low iron, and some people get a condition called pica, which is eating things that are inedible. So people chewing on their pencils and crunching on ice and eating paper, putting paper in their mouth, just chewing on things. My brother, when he was little, he said he would smell dirt and it would smell really good, and he would just start eating the dirt. And it's called pica, and it often comes with anemia. Not everybody gets that, so what you need is vitamin C would be the best thing to take for that, not necessarily iron. See, there's plenty of iron around. We don't have a lack of iron around, and if you add iron, most of the time it may cause constipation and intestinal problems. So you can take small amounts of iron. There are drops that they have for children, natural iron sources, and you can get those in where they sell vitamins. But really, what helps you absorb the iron is vitamin C. So just taking one 500 milligram vitamin C pill with each meal will help you to get the iron out of that meal better, because the ascorbic acid that is that vitamin C holds on to the iron and puts it in a ferrous form, which is the form that allows it to be absorbed. That +2 form is easily absorbed. So just taking vitamin C.
Okay. Kathy is wondering if you have thoughts about MCT oil during fasting.
Okay. MCT, medium chain triglyceride oil, is something that goes into your liver, and your liver says, aha, I know what to do with this. Let's make it into ketones. And it makes it into ketones. It raises your ketone level. And guess what? Your body uses ketones during fasting as an energy source. Now, you don't, not right away. And that's why you have like those first 3 days of fasting are hard, because you're getting hypoglycemic, the blood sugar's going down, and you're starting to make ketones, but your body doesn't use them right away. It really takes a few days to switch your metabolism to a fat burning metabolism to be able to use the ketones. So some people supplement with medium chain triglyceride. It'll get those ketones up quickly so that you can start training your body to use ketones. And that might help for some people. For most with diabetes, because we're talking with type 2, it probably doesn't help very much, because the problem is insulin resistance. And so the blood sugar will tend to be high, which will prevent you from using the ketones. But, well, actually, there is a good thing. So ketones can cross the blood-brain barrier without those transport proteins like the sugar needs. So actually, if you take medium chain triglyceride oil, that may help your brain to transition better. I just thought of that. I didn't think that would work. Anyway, but yeah, for some people, I'll bet that would work to help you transition better, because the ketones will get into your brain. So as your blood sugar is going down, you'll have ketones to use instead. That's a good idea. I would do that.
Okay. Let's see. David said, what is the best way to use the keto diet without increasing cholesterol?
Oh, that great question. Thank you. Okay. Fiber is your best friend. So instead of saying, I'm doing the keto diet with a high fat diet, say, I'm doing a low fat keto diet and eating a whole bunch of fiber. All of the free foods that we have on the list for our keto diet, which is the Diabetes Solution Kit, phase 1 is a keto diet. And so what we do is we have a list of free foods, and it's broccoli and spinach and lettuce and celery, cucumbers. So you have these lists of foods that are high in fiber and low in fat. Use more of those. That's the answer.
Okay. Meg says, I need suggestions for detoxing my liver from 2 doses of gadolinium recently due to 2 MRIs. Suggestions? And can we discuss how to keep liver health, as it's critical for diabetics?
Okay. So gadolinium is a heavy metal, and they use it for MRI scans as a contrast agent. And so what they said was, well, gadolinium, you get rid of it pretty easily. The body gets rid of it. But it's not that easy. Not everybody does get rid of it very easily. So some people, they build up, and years later, they still have high levels of gadolinium. Now, it's not like lead and mercury heavy metal that's going to disrupt your mitochondria, but it still does affect some membrane or some enzymes in your body. So I've helped people detox from gadolinium using a heavy metal detox, and that usually includes chlorella and cilantro. And if you don't like cilantro, then they actually make capsules for people who don't like it. But if you like cilantro, a great way to use it is just to chop it into every meal that you have. Like if you have salad, chop some cilantro in there. If you're having fish, just put some chopped cilantro on your fish. I find it's great. It adds flavor to it, and you can have it with any. Some people say you can only put it with Mexican food, but you know what? Chinese spices work well with cilantro. There's all kinds of things work well with cilantro, I think.
Yeah.
I like to cook, so use it all the time.
I love cilantro.
And then you can get capsules of chlorella, which is the blue-green algae, and that takes the gadolinium out of your intestines.
Very interesting. Okay, this is good. Jim said, can you describe how we best monitor our progress when and if we fast to determine how long to fast, and how we tell that we are effectively flushing excess glucose out of our cells? Isn't excess glucose within the cells what makes us insulin resistant?
Yes, yes. Very good. That's exactly right. I love it when people learn it. That is so good. So yeah, that excess glucose, which is stored as glycogen in the cells, makes you insulin resistant. So how do you measure that? Well, you know what? I had somebody yesterday who's starting a fast, and he says, "Well, how do I know? How do I measure this?" And I said, just use your weight." So he texts me his weight every day, and I do that with a lot of people who are fasting. They just text me their weight every day. How much do you weigh? Why? Well, because I can't draw their blood every single day and look at their insulin resistance numbers. So you could like do the finger stick and look at, they do hemoglobin A1C in a finger stick or the glucose in a finger stick. And that's okay too. Of course, if you have diabetes, you're going to want to know what your blood sugar is. So the blood sugar and the weight. So when the weight's coming down, then you know you're burning fat. And if you're burning fat, it means you've run out of sugar. And that's the kind of the key ingredient. And that's why I tell people to text me their weight as they're fasting over a long period of time.
Okay.
There was one other thing to finish off that question. You could, there's a urine ketone sticks, they're called, and there's also a blood ketone monitor. And you can measure your ketone levels to see how much fat you're burning. And when you're getting a high level of fat, you pretty much used up all that glycogen, all the glucose in your cells. Okay. That's a good way to do it.
Yeah. Let's see, Krish is back. We consume lots of antioxidants through spices we use, such as ginger, garlic, cardamom. While these are not enough, we start taking antioxidant preparations that are available commercially. In fact, are there too many? My question is whether there is any danger or side effects or to consuming too many antioxidants. What's your take and recommendations?
Okay, good. I'm glad you asked that, Chris, this way. That what's your take? Because this is my personal opinion, and I've done some research on this, but I have an issue with the isolation of one chemical and saying this is an antioxidant, and that includes vitamins like vitamin E. If you just take the D alpha tocopherol and say, okay, this is what we're going to give you for vitamin E. When if you were to eat almonds, you would have D alpha, beta, gamma tocopherol. You would have tocotrienols, this whole spectrum of vitamin E. It's a lot of different chemicals that are vitamin E. So the taking of pills that just have the lycopene in it or just have the resveratrol in it, I have an issue with that, because if you look at the hundreds of different antioxidants there are in the world, and they work in different ways on different cells and different types of tissues, and you need all those differences. So I think eating the food is better. In fact, when I had a lecture, I went to a lecture by Dr. Walls, Terry Walls, and she had multiple sclerosis, and she reversed her multiple sclerosis, and her story is pretty instructive, I think, and that is she went to the functional medicine doctors or integrated medicine doctors and said, I've tried all the medications all the doctors in the neurologists and all that can give me, and none of them have helped at all. I need some help with this. And so they put her on this supplements and everything, tested her and said, oh, you're low in this and this, and started giving her all supplements. And she said, you know, what happened was instead of a rapid decline, which she had been having, it leveled out. But she still wasn't getting better. So she had the bright idea of saying, what if I got all of those nutrients I'm taking in food. And so she looked them all up. So where's Veratrol come from? Oh, it comes from the grape seeds, the skins. Okay, so I'll have to have that. Where does CoQ10 come from? Oh, it comes from liver. Where does the fish oil come from? Well, it comes from fish. Duh. Anyway, so she then said, this is what I'm going to have to eat. It was 9 cups of fruits and vegetables a day, and then liver once a week, fish once a week, and then seaweed. And so she got all of her nutrition, instead of from those pills, she got it from food. And guess what? She started getting better. And excuse me, within months, she was walking again. She got out of her wheelchair, was walking again. So the moral of the story, I think, is instead of adding like antioxidant pills, look at what a carrot has. Carrot doesn't just have beta carotene, it has a whole bunch of carotenoids. If you're eating kale, you're getting a whole bunch of carotenes, carotenoids, and all kinds of other antioxidants with it. There's mineral antioxidants that are part of the foods, and they may not be in that antioxidant supplement that you're getting. So my take on it, to answer your question, is eat the food.
All right, this is good. Anku says, I checked my blood sugar early morning at 4:30 a.m. and it was 78. Then 5 hours later at 9:30, when I tested again, it recorded at 88. What is going on? My doctor has not yet taken me off the daily 10 milligrams of glipizide that I take. Please help.
Wow. Well, if my personal opinion is, I'm not your doctor, but if I were your doctor and you were getting numbers that low, glipizide has the effect of causing hypoglycemia, because it causes an excessive release of insulin. So there's 2 things that it does. 1, it causes more insulin resistance, and 2, it causes hypoglycemia. So that wouldn't be my first choice if I were your doctor, just saying. But what happens, the reason why it goes up is because you're dropping too low. So when you're on the low side, the glucagon released from your pancreas tells the liver, make more sugar. So then your sugar goes up. And so that's pretty much what's happening. There's a whole bunch of things involved in what your blood sugar happens to be at this moment. But it's normal. That's not a concerning thing by itself.
Okay. Says my internet connection may be unstable, so we'll see if this works. Jim says, I get very sleepy or groggy after each meal. So my preference is to go to bed about 10 p.m. each night. So if I set my alarm for 11, should my Ghrelin at 10 as we have?
Oh, good question. Okay, so if if you're going to bed early, it's okay. It depends on. Remember, part of it is not necessarily the number 10, although that's pretty much around the time when the studies show that people do release their growth hormone. And as long as your stomach's empty, that should work. But going to bed earlier, waking up at 11, I don't know about how that works or what would happen in that kind of a case. I just don't know.
Okay. See, Chris, taking Herbala, is it okay 2 at one time instead of 1 in the morning and 1 at night? I asked this because I missed the second dose many times, and so just wondering if that is an option for convenience.
Oh yeah, you can take them 2 at once. In fact, Yeah, we formulated it so that you could take 2 a day when you first start, and then you could drop back to 1 a day, which is enough generally. So yeah, for convenience, taking 2 at the same time would be just fine.
Okay. Great question from Lorita. How do you eliminate with fasting? She really believes in fasting, always worries on constipation.
Okay, that is a good question. And I read the book The Fasting Cure by Upton Sinclair, the one I was talking about. And in there, people do frequent enemas, the enemas to clean out their colons. I don't personally do that. You could do that. I've had several patients who've been doing enemas to clean out their intestines. I had someone else who was taking a magnesium supplement, and she said she was still having small stools even though she was fasting for a long period of time. So I don't know the best way, and I don't think you have to clean out. I think the process of cleaning out really is just not putting anything in there, and then the bowels clear out, and then when you start eating again, then the bacteria that are in there, the good bacteria, will start growing on the fiber that you're eating. That's why I think the vegetables, fruit vegetable, is a good idea.
Okay. Question about Terramin, California earth mineral, an internal detoxifier. Are you familiar with that, and what do you think of it?
I'm not familiar with that. The Terramin California earth mineral is probably a diatomaceous earth. A food grade diatomaceous earth is often used for cleaning out animals. They give it to horses all the time, and and I know it comes from California. In fact, right near my house in Lompoc they have, but I don't know Terramin specifically. I know there's another, not the diatomaceous earth. It's another clay, Redmond clay, that is also supposed to be cleansing. And that may be true. What they do is they hold on to organic molecules, and they allow you to get rid of them out of your body, and they're fine, and they're really good. And we've used that for detoxing people who've overdosed on drugs, kind of things, along with charcoal and diatomaceous earth. So that's one way of doing it. But you know what? The best detox is still fasting. Sorry.
Ivan says, if you don't need, the doctor wants me to gain weight to have a reserve, should I get sick?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch all that. Say it again.
Ian says, what if you do not need to lose weight? The doctor wants to gain weight to have in case he should get sick.
I know, I've heard that so many times. Okay, so the weight is not the issue. It's becoming anabolic. The having gain weight to have a reserve, I've heard of that. It's a very old concept. There's no truth to it, though. In fact, people who were very skinny who fasted, if you want to read the book, it's great. People who are very skinny were actually, after they finished fasting, were able to gain weight better, which is what Dr. Walter Longo at USC has been doing a lot of research recently. So this isn't from 100 years ago. This is like today's research, and they're showing the same thing, that if you fast for 3 to 7 days and you start eating again, then your weight goes down during the fast, but then it goes up plus a little bit. But what's the advantage of this fasting is that instead of gaining fat, which you would do if you just ate a bunch of ice cream to gain weight, when you fast and then you start eating again, you gain more muscle than fat. Whereas if you're not fasting and you want to gain weight and just eat by eating more, you gain less muscle and more fat. There is an advantage to fasting, even if you don't want to lose weight, because you can gain the weight back. I had somebody yesterday in my office who fasts every Saturday. Friday at noon, he stops eating and doesn't eat again until Sunday morning. But then Sunday, he eats a lot, like he says, 3,000 calories on Sunday. And so he never loses any weight. In fact, he's gained some by fasting.
Okay, a couple questions. This your
Wait, I didn't catch all that. Say it again.
am I cutting out?
Yeah.
How do you take your medicine and supplements when you fast?
Okay. Oh, thank you. I forgot to talk about that. Okay. So some medicines you have to continue, and the supplements you don't have to continue while you're fasting. So supplements, consider them to be food, and so that's not fasting. So get rid of those. While you're fasting, you don't have to take supplements, but some medicines do. So for example, I have somebody who is on a blood thinner for atrial fibrillation. And so he's doing a fast right now, and he's still taking his blood thinner for his atrial fibrillation. So there are certain medicines you have to ask your doctor which ones they are, depending on which ones you're taking. So things like blood pressure medication would tend to cause hypotension, low blood pressure while you're fasting, because during the fast, the blood pressure will come down to normal, and it will generally stay low for months to years afterward. So you have to be really careful with blood pressure medication, because you may get dizzy, and if you're getting dizziness, then take your blood pressure, and if your blood pressure is low, let your doctor know, hey, I'm getting hypotension here. Then you may want to get off those medications. Diabetes medications, again, you're going to get low blood sugar, and especially if you're on insulin. If you have type 2 and you're injecting insulin, you have to be really careful with that too. So that's where you work with somebody, work with your doctor, whoever's prescribing them for you, and say, I'm not going to be eating for a period of time. And so I want to just hold the medications until I'm done, and measure my blood sugar, blood pressure every day, and see how I'm doing. So those are kind of individual things, but yes, that you have to be careful with those kinds of things when you're fasting.
Okay, what would be the minimum days to fast in order to be effective in a detox?
Okay. Yes, thank you for that question. So there's no minimum specifically, but the research shows that it takes about 3 days. So 3 days. And when I do 3 days, I do dry fasts. I don't drink, I don't eat. So my stomach stays empty. There's no stretch receptors anytime. I don't even drink water. When I only do 3 days. If I do more than 3 days, I'll generally drink water. The minimum is about 3 days to turn your metabolism from a sugar burning metabolism to a fat burning metabolism.
Well, hello, Joe Barton here, and I wanted to talk to you about today's sponsor, which is our product called Healthy Gut Support. Does that work? There it is, Healthy Gut Support. So this is our prebiotic, probiotic, and digestive enzyme blend that is great for digestion. It helps with gas and bloating, metabolism, immune system support, weight loss, inflammation, detox, and cleansing. It's just really good. I highly recommend it. This is something that I take regularly with a meal. The instructions are, as a dietary supplement, adults take 2 capsules daily, preferably with a meal, or as recommended by a healthcare practitioner. So Dr. Saunders formulated this, and it is really good. So it's got, it's not just a probiotic, it's got the prebiotic, which is the fiber that the probiotics eat and feast on so that they're active. And then the digestive enzymes work so that your body can better digest fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. And so this is highly recommended. If you want to save 25%, use the coupon code webinar25, which I've got listed right on my over my shoulder here. Go to bartonnutrition.com, and that's where you can order Healthy Gut Support. Use that coupon code webinar25. That helps us know that, one, that you're watching the webinars, and two, it helps to support the cause that we're doing to deliver hope and healing to people all over the world. And so check this out, Healthy Gut Support. Highly recommend. I love it. All right, take care. God bless. Back to the webinar.
I don't know if I'm cutting or not. I might be. So I think we better just end it. Thank you so much, Dr. Saunders.
You're welcome.
bartonwebinar.com is where you can find more information. We will be back here next Thursday. Thank you all for joining.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.